To Luke chapter 24. Yeah, the best part of that is dwelling with Jesus there. We finally get to see him face to face and then spend the rest of eternity with him. It won't be a stopping point along the route. That'll be our final resting place. Isn't that a great thought? People say, their bodies may rest in a tomb and rest in peace. Well, it's just the body. It's the soul you want to be making sure it's resting somewhere. And in heaven it will be finally at rest. What an exciting time. Luke chapter 24. We're going to finish up, Lord willing, this morning what we have been dealing with the past 2 weeks. And then tonight, come on back for our evening service. We'll be in the book of Ecclesiastes. We'll be jumping into chapter 10 this evening. Now, we have been evaluating the need for all of us to rely on people on some level. We all have a need for others to help us. And in the conversation about needing help, we realize we should be helping others. We should be investing in the lives of other people because other people need us just like we need them. And anytime someone is left to themselves, anytime someone is by themselves with no one to assist them, no one to intervene in their life, it's not a good thing. In fact, the very first person that was ever created, his name was Adam. God created him by himself. God didn't give him anyone to start. He just said, there you go, Adam. Here are all the animals. Here is the garden. Have yourself a blast. And God said, it is not good that a man be alone. Proving right out of the gate, even a perfect man, a man with no needs, needs somebody else in his life. If you were to read the book of Proverbs, you'll come across a very powerful phrase for parenting, and it says this in the book of Proverbs: a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. What does that mean? It means if a child doesn't have somebody investing in their lives, if a child doesn't have a father or a mother investing in their life, that child will eventually fail and bring that parent to shame. And that phrase, being left to himself, doesn't mean being in the middle of nowhere with nothing. It could mean sitting in his or her room reading books or playing video games. Right? It's the idea that no one is interacting and investing in their life. It's not good for anyone to be alone. We need the help of each other. We need the help of our parents, of our spouse. We need the help of our doctor, do we not? We need the help of our mechanic. We need the help of our postman and postwoman. We need the help of, you think about all the people we need to do their job just to help us live our lives. We need the electrician to keep the power flowing. We need all the oil folks and the gas people and the car makers to keep our cars going. We need people. Humanity has been designed to be this way, and Christianity is no different. Paul the Apostle wrote these words in 1 Corinthians 12. He wrote this. He said, God hath set the members of the church, every one of them, in the body as it hath pleased him. And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee. Nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of thee. Paul is saying the members of the church are like the members of the human body. And the eye can't say to the feet or to the head or to the ears, I don't need you. The legs can't say to the arms, I don't need you. No, they all need each other. In fact, if the knee is not invested in the body, the foot's going to have a hard time. If the brain is not invested in the body, the mouth is going to have a hard time speaking. So the human body is wired in such a way that everything has to be working. Isn't it amazing that a little tiny part of your inner ear, if that's not invested in good health, if it's not invested in functioning with the rest of your body, it will put you on your back. The inner ear can get all distorted, and next thing you know, you can't even walk. You can't stand up without being nauseous. You can't function at all. Why? Because one little part just wasn't as interested in performing as high of a level as every other part. And the church is no different. Our church needs its members to be invested. Our nursery coordinator, for example, needs our nursery workers to be invested, to be helping. We all need each other to be helping out. And for the past few weeks, we've been digging into Jesus Christ's investment strategy. We've been noting that he, while he was here, put a lot of time into people, especially into Peter. We read in John chapter 1 that Jesus beheld Simon Bar-Jonah. He looked at him and he said, hey, your new name is Cephas. And he saw something in this man, Simon Bar-Jonah, that would indicate he saw a rigid, rugged, courageous leader in him, and he decided, I'm going to invest in you. But he had his eyes open. He was looking for potential in people, and that's what we need to do. He then created opportunities for the people he was investing in, Peter in particular. He gave him a chance to walk on water. What a great opportunity. What a great opportunity to let this man grow in his faith, grow in his leadership, grow in his courage, and even grow in his humility. He constrained those men to be out on the ocean in Matthew chapter 14, or the sea rather. In Matthew chapter 16, we read that Jesus entrusted something very special to Peter. He gave him the keys to the kingdom of heaven. And we learned the more relationship capital you put into someone, the more likely they are to reach their full potential. The more trust, the more confidence you put into somebody, the more likely they are to meet those expectations and to grow into the person you hope they will become. Last week, we looked at Jesus' statement to Peter in Luke chapter 22 when he said, Simon, Simon, Satan hath desired you to have you, to sift you as wheat. But don't worry, I have prayed for you, so that when you are converted, you can strengthen your brethren. And we talked about the need to pray intently for someone. When you notice somebody can become something better than what they are, and you pull them out of darkness, or you pull them out of mediocrity, or you pull them out of wherever they are, you are awakening an enemy, an adversary. You are pointing out somebody to Satan. Satan isn't interested if you're sitting in the darkness of life. He's interested if somebody tries to get you out of darkness, and he will be active. And we need to pray for those people. Have you ever noticed? Maybe it's somebody at work you begin to take an interest in, and maybe it's a family member you start to try to witness to and share the gospel with them and share the word of God, and all of a sudden, just amazing the sickness that they have every Sunday. It's amazing that their shift gets changed from the shift that they were on with you. Now they're on a different shift, or things happen, drama takes place. You say, why is that? It may be because they're avoiding you, but more likely, there is a spiritual battle now brewing because you awoke someone out of darkness to fight against your hopes of bringing someone to a place of victory, of spiritual growth. And then we looked finally last week at the hard reality that when you invest in someone, there is a strong likelihood that you will be hurt by that person. And I believe no one hurt Jesus like Simon Peter, because no one was invested so heavily into Simon Peter more than Jesus Christ. Yes, Judas may have given that kiss of betrayal, but it was Simon Peter who on 3 occasions says, man, I know not Jesus. Woman, I don't know Jesus. I'm telling you by swearing and cursing, I don't know the man. And we read in that passage how when the rooster cockle-doodle-dooed, Jesus looked over at Simon Peter and just looked at him, and what sorrow, what rejection, what heartbreak Jesus must have felt. The man that he gave the keys to the kingdom of heaven, the man that he invested so much in, the man that he stood up for, the man that he taught, the man that he gave so much to, would say, I don't even know you, 3 times. And that brings us to our 6th strategy bullet of Jesus Christ investment ministry, and this is in Luke 24. This would be the first day of the week. This is when Jesus Christ resurrected from the grave. The ladies came to the tomb with spices to anoint the body of Christ, and they find 2 angels and no body in the tomb. It scared them, and so they ran back to tell the apostles. Luke 24, verse number 11. And the words of the ladies seemed to the apostles as idle tales, and they believed them not. Then arose who? Peter! And he ran into the sepulchre. We know that John would follow and outrun him, so if you're wondering who's the faster apostle, it's John. And John, Peter stooping down, he beheld the linen clothes laid by themselves and departed, wondering in himself at that which was come to pass. So he's not sure what he just saw. Remember now, Peter, the last time he had any conversation with Jesus had been around Jesus. He denied him 3 times. The rooster cockle-doodle-dooed, and then he went off weeping and mourning at his denial of Christ. And so here he sees the empty tomb thinking, Jesus may be alive. I don't know what just happened. Maybe his body was stolen, but he may be alive. The ladies claim they saw 2 angels, but there's the linen clothes that he was wrapped in, and those are off. He's gone, wondering. Verse 13. And behold, 2 of them, referring to the disciples, the followers of Christ, and 2 of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs. That's about 7.5 miles. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. Which is fascinating, isn't it? Because this was the resurrected Christ, meaning he looked just like the pre-resurrected Christ, but they didn't recognize him because their eyes were holden. Basically, Jesus put the blinders over them so that they wouldn't recognize him. And it says in verse number 17 that Jesus says unto them, what manner of communications are these that you have one to another as you walk and are sad? What's the deal, boys? Why are you so sad? Why are you crying? And one of them answers and says, don't you know what just happened? Are you a stranger around here? There was a guy named Jesus. We thought he was going to be the Messiah. We thought he was going to bring the kingdom in. And the scribes, they gave him to Pilate. Pilate crucified him. And today, by the way, is the 3rd day since all this happened. And we just met some ladies, and these ladies claim that he's not in the tomb, and they saw some angels. Where have you been? Verse 28. And they drew nigh unto the village whither they went, and he made as though he would have gone further. But they constrained him, saying, abide with us. Hang out a little longer. It's toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. And it came to pass, as they had dinner, he took some bread, blessed it, brake, and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened. Wow. And they knew him, only to have him go, poof. Jesus. Where'd he go? It's you. Well, he's gone, just vanished. I love it. And they said one to another, did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, and while he opened to us the scriptures? I knew it was him. And they rose up the same hour and returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 gathered together, and them that were with them, saying, this is what the 11 said, the apostles, not all 11 of them, but that's their title. They were saying, the Lord is risen indeed, and hath appeared to Simon. Now, there is a lot of contextual questions about verse 34. This statement that the apostles make, that the Lord indeed is risen and hath appeared to Simon. The questions are, were they talking about Simon Peter? Because Simon was a very common name. Were they talking about some other Simon, or were they talking about Simon Peter? The other question is, were they declaring that they knew Jesus was resurrected? Or because Simon Peter maybe just came back with the news that he saw Jesus, they're saying, surely the rumors are true. We know Peter was going to Emmaus, but he came back before it got too late to tell us something had happened. Surely he must have seen Jesus, because we know Jesus would have resurrected and appeared to Peter. That's the question mark. What's he saying? Well, I can tell you this much. According to the epistle to the Corinthians, Jesus is recorded to have seen Cephas first. Cephas being who? Simon Peter, right? Stone. Aramaic for stone. So we know, according to Paul, the revelation of the Scripture is Jesus resurrected. He saw Cephas. Then, Paul says, of the 12. So that's where we have to ask ourselves, what just happened? Well, let's keep reading, and I think the text will reveal what just happened. Verse 35, and they, the 2, told what things were done in the way, and how he, Jesus, was known of them in breaking of bread. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them, and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. But they were terrified, and spake, and affrighted, and supposed that they had seen a spirit. Now, if the apostles were saying, we know that Jesus has resurrected because he appeared to Simon, would they be so, because of their own personal encounter, would they have been so terrified and affrighted when Jesus showed up? Or would they have said, yeah, hey, Jesus, we knew you were coming at some point. We were ready for you. We knew you had already resurrected. No. I think we could argue that they had not known that he had resurrected because they had not seen him. They only heard about the women claiming the tomb was empty with the angels there. But because one of these guys on the road to Emmaus, I believe, is Simon Peter, and because Simon Peter came back so quickly and was so excited that they said, surely, indeed, Jesus is resurrected and has appeared to Simon. He's about to tell us all about it. And while Peter's telling them, boom, Jesus shows up, and they were terrified. They were frightened because for them, it was also new, also fresh. Biblically, we know Jesus resurrected, at some point revealed himself, appeared to Simon Peter, and then to the 12. So either Peter was one of those guys on the road to Emmaus, or in between the road to Emmaus and this encounter with the apostles, Jesus appeared to Simon Peter. I believe one of those men would have been Simon Peter. And whether that's true or not doesn't change the point here. We know that Jesus appeared to Peter before he appeared to the 12. This teaches me a very simple truth about investing into people, and that is this: we need to make timely appearances to people. If we are going to make a difference in the life of a person, we can't do it from a distance. We can't do it through a phone. We can't do it through the post office. We can't do it through a screen. We have to make timely appearances. And in Peter's case, after the death of Jesus Christ, after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, where was Peter? Where was he in his mind? The last encounter he had with his Savior, with his leader, with his master, with his mentor was, I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't know you. And he left weeping, mourning for his personal failure. How could I do that? And over he plays the sound of the rooster. And he has to think about what it was like to feel that. Why was he sad? Because his master died, and even if the rumors were true that his master was resurrected, he wouldn't want to even see me. He must be so disappointed in me. He must feel like I abandoned him. He needed to see Jesus. And Jesus knew that Peter needed to see his face. You know, God could have said from heaven, Peter, Jesus is alive. Jesus has forgotten. Jesus has forgiven. God could have said whatever he wanted from heaven. But that would have been no substitute for the face of Jesus and the eyes of Jesus to look into that face and realize it's okay. It's okay. I mean, for how many of you is a text good enough in some type of relationship turmoil where you text through a reconciliation process and you're fine? Probably not many of you. You know what you need to do? You need to look into the eyes of that person that you hurt or hurt you. You need to look at the face of the person that you hurt or hurt you, and you need to be able to see it with your own eyes that it's okay. It's okay. That's what Peter needed. And that's why Jesus revealed himself, appeared to Simon Peter before the other 12. There are all kinds of approaches to investing in the lives of people. But those who make the greatest impact on people are the ones who show up. There isn't a text that can replace your in-person presence. There isn't a letter. There aren't any cards in Hallmark's portfolio that can replace your presence, your appearance, your face. There isn't a phone call that can replace that. It doesn't have to be unannounced like Christ, and in many cases it shouldn't be. But we need to show up. We need to do things that will indicate our time is worth their time. Jesus didn't have to do that. We understand this, right? As soon as Jesus resurrected from the grave, for him, the right hand of God was all he needed now. Jesus stayed behind longer than he needed to. Jesus spent more time than he needed to on this wretched, cursed world, this earth, just to show himself to people that he had invested in, starting with Cephas, starting with Peter. The greatest investors in life value making an appearance at the right time for someone special. I want you to think back in your life and tell me how memorable was a text that you received. How memorable was a letter that you received? How memorable was a card that you received? How memorable was a phone call? I'm not saying that they didn't stick in your memory somewhere, but now compare that to the times in your life when someone showed up when you needed them. Compare them to the times when someone just magically was there when you absolutely needed them. I will forever remember on May 11th, 2007, when the nurse says to me, Kevin, you need to call somebody. Your wife is not doing well. And I said, we're good. Call somebody, she said. I realized that was a very serious call, that I may lose my wife. And I said, really, I'm all right. She saw how white my face was and said, call somebody. I said, my parents are out of town. I said, my pastor, call my pastor. She said, he's already here. You know what that was? A timely appearance by my mentor, my pastor. When I opened the door, there he was, and Mr. Cool, calm, and collected. I got this handle. As soon as I saw him, I wrapped my arms around him and began to sob. Why? Timely appearance. I remember a time, I think I was 17, maybe 16, and I was about to go on a band trip, and I had to go on a bus because the band went ahead of me. I stayed behind for a youth rally, and I got on this bus, and I was ready to go, and all of a sudden, no joke, the bus was about to leave, and all of a sudden, it stops, doors open, and who comes on the bus? It's my father with a can of grape pop. Just want to say, Kev, have a great trip. You almost forgot a grape pop. I'll never forget that. Why? It was a timely appearance. My father investing in my life. I can't remember many texts, emails, letters, or phone calls. But I always remember when someone shows up. I remember playing ball as a young man, and ball was a big deal. If you're a young person, you know sports are a big deal, and I would play ball, and people that were in my life, Mr. Smaz would call me after some games. I'll never forget that. Some people would show up at the games. I'll never forget that. People who made appearances, people who showed their faces, people who spent time caring about me by being there. Those are the things I remember. And those are the things that people will remember about you. So you know what you need to do? Grab a burger with somebody. Grab a cup of coffee with somebody. Show up when you don't have time to show up. Spend more time than you can afford to spend. Do those things with your face, with your body, with the energy that comes from you, with your eyes, that no text, no device can ever offer someone. You say, I have children. What means a lot to them? A stupid ball game. Yeah, but come on, they're just little kids running around. They're not even playing right. They don't know that. You know what they know? Mom's always on the sidelines, which means she cares about me. And if Dad's not there, guess what, Dad? You can talk all you want. You can send all the cards you want. It doesn't matter. Your presence means more than any words you'll offer. Your kids may not be into sports, but they're into music, and they might even stink at it. But you know what matters to them? That you're in the seat in the audience when they have a concert. It's all about making timely appearances. This was the investment strategy of Christ, taking the time to show his face to a man that desperately needed to see it. Turn to John chapter 21. We'll read another passage and be done. We'll talk about the seventh and final investment strategy of Jesus Christ. John chapter 21 is a very intimate passage between Jesus Christ and his great rising star, Simon Peter. Jesus reveals and appears again to his disciples after the resurrection, but before the ascension. And we read in verse 1, after these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. Pastor Phil, where'd he go? Is he back there? What do you think of when you think of Tiberias? Are you like me where you think of stench? Remember the bugs, the flies, and the stench? So I want everybody right now, I want you to smell some stank, all right? This is Tiberias. Just come with me to Israel. It's a town right on the coast there. and it wasn't really clean. And this is where Jesus is going to show himself to Peter and others. And on this wise showed he himself. There were together Simon Peter, mentioned first, and Thomas, called Didymus, and Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other of his disciples. Simon Peter saith unto them, I go a-fishing. Going back to his secular work. They say unto him, we also go with thee. Interesting that he's such a leader. Isn't that amazing? Whatever you do, Peter, we'll do it. So Jesus shows up on the shore while they're fishing. Hey guys, did you catch anything out there? No. Quiet, old man. None of your business. Right? How about you put your net on the right side? Shut up, old man. We already did that all night. We didn't catch anything, all right? Just do it. All right, this guy won't be quiet until we do it. So they throw the net over there. They catch 153 fish. At that point, the light goes off in Peter's head. He looks over there and says, that's Jesus. And so he jumps in the water. He wants to get to shore to see Jesus before the slow boat with all those fish get there. And it says in verse 9, as soon as they were come to land, they saw a fire of coals there and fish laid thereon and bread. Don't discredit any detail. God wants us to know there's fish on the coals. Okay? Jesus says unto them, bring of the fish which ye have now caught. Why would he ask them to bring the fish? Is there any doctrinal teaching we're about to experience? Does he all of a sudden have an interest in those fish? No small detail here. Verse 11, Jesus tells them all to bring the fish. And who goes and gets them? Simon Peter. You got to love this guy. Not James, not John, not Thomas, not Nathanael. Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of great fishes, 153. Verse 12, Jesus then says, come and dine. Come eat. Verse 13, Jesus comes, takes bread, and gives them, and fish likewise. So, verse 15, when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, what does he call him? Son of who? Simon, son of Jonas. Interesting. Didn't we change that name? In John chapter 1, didn't he say, hey, Simon, son of Jonas, Simon Bar-Jonah, your new name is Simon Cephas, Simon Peter, Simon Stone. But he's going backwards now. Very interesting. Why? Simon, son of Jonas was his pre-ministry name, was his fisherman name, pre-Christ name. He says, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? Does anyone know who he's referring to when he says these? Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? The 153 fish in the net, the fish on the coals, and the fish he's got in his mouth. Why did he tell him to bring the fish? Illustration. Why did he cook fish? Illustration. Why did he give him fish to eat? Illustration. Simon, son of Jonas, Simon, fisherman, Simon, great fisherman. Do you love me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my lambs. He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, fisherman man, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him again the third time, Lovest thou me? And Peter said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself, and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. What does that mean? Verse 19 tells us he spake that, signifying by what death he should glorify God. That's probably a crucifixion. And listen what he says now. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, Follow me. Number 7, Jesus' great investment strategy, and we're done with this. Refuse to quit on the person you identify with potential. Refuse to quit on the person that you create opportunities to develop. Refuse to quit on the person you've entrusted something with. Refuse to quit on the person that you've been praying intently for. Refuse to quit on the person that you know could hurt you, that would hurt you, on the person that does hurt you. This passage may be easily missed in that we just read through it and say, well, that's nice. Jesus came back to talk to Peter. This was such a symbolic appearance because Jesus found Peter fishing. Isn't that what he was doing when he found him the first time? And isn't that where Peter was when Jesus said, follow me and I will make you fishers of men? Yes. And in the course of Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, some point, somewhere, Peter says, I go a-fishing. I'm going back to my former life. I'm going to be Simon Bar-Jonah again. And so Jesus says, let's start over then. Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? Yeah? All right then. Feed my lambs. Stop feeding the fish your worms. Feed my sheep. I love it. Jesus says, let's try a do-over, Peter. Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. What is this? This is Peter being confronted with the very beginning of his relationship with Jesus, being confronted with the calling to serve Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, you're not there. Why not? Let's start over. Let's do it all over again. You're not going to be Simon Bar-Jonah. You're going to be Simon Peter, Cephas, stone, leader. And you're not going to feed the fish, you're going to feed my lambs. I want you to follow me. But, last time I did that, the last time you invested in me, Jesus, I denied you 3 times. I remember saying, I know you not, 3 times out loud. I remember saying it before the rooster cocked. Lord, I don't think I'm worthy to serve you. Lovest thou me? Yea, Lord. You know that I love you. Lovest thou me? Yea, Lord. You know that I love you. Lovest thou me? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Good, I just needed you to say it out loud 3 times so that you can replace what you heard last time. You may have heard yourself deny me 3 times. Now hear yourself say you love me 3 times. I know that you love me. In fact, I know it's going to happen. You're going to be converted. You're going to strengthen your brother. I know that you'll be so faithful to me that when you die, you'll be crucified to glorify God just like me. I know that, Peter. I know you've got it all figured out. I know you're going to be fine. Now follow me because I'm not giving up on you. That's Jesus' investment strategy. You want to quit? Well, you're going to have to fight me to quit because I'm not letting you quit because I'm not giving up on you. What I saw in you 3 years ago, I still see it now. You just need to get off the boat and back on the water. You need to get your eyes off the nets and back onto me. You need to stop thinking about your former life and get onto your future life. I trust you. I believe in you. I believe you're able to lead my people, to feed my sheep. I want you to be the shepherd. So stop worrying about your failures. Stop thinking about yesterday. If I think you're good enough, then you're good enough. This is the power of influencing a life when you refuse to give up on someone. Do you know how easy it is for us to give up on ourselves? Either you're tired or stunned this morning. Do you not know how easy it is to give up on yourself? Think about how many times you wanted to quit on yourself. And you know what you needed? You needed someone to come by and say, hey, you're a special person. Lately, I tell people I'm a disaster if they say anything positive. Like, oh, you're doing a good job. I'm a disaster. You have no idea. You have no idea. But sometimes we need somebody to believe in us when we don't believe in ourselves. Don't write that off as some secular psychological approach. That's called humanity. Do we not do that with our children when our children say, I can't do it, I can't ride my bike? What do? Yeah, you're right. You're pretty worthless, kid. Right? They can't do it on the first day. This is stupid. I don't like this bike riding thing. Yeah, I never thought you could do it either, kid. Enjoy the training wheels the rest of your life. Or do we say, hey, kiddo, I've been there, done that. You're a bright kid. You're a strong kid. You're going to figure this out. It'll just take a little bit of time. Don't you worry. And you see the kid's eyes get all big like, you think I can do this? Of course I think you can do this. You're not telling them they can fly to the moon, but you know what they're capable of doing. They can ride a bike. You're investing in someone and refusing to give up on them. Every child needs that. Don't you know that? That's why a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. We should be driving our children. We should be moving our children with the promise, the hope that we have in them. Hey, kid, I don't need you to get to the moon. I don't need you to get to the White House, but I know you are going to do great things if you let God teach you and guide you. That's a young person who's all distorted in his mind, thinking he can't do what the world wants him to do because he sees these great actors, these great athletes, these great musicians, sees mom and dad succeeding and thinks, there's no way I can do all that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And you have no idea how much you'll change your life. How many of you, don't raise your hand, but how many of you adults are where you are today because at some point in your childhood or through your adolescent years, you had a mother or a father who would not quit on you? They're out there. You might be that person. I wonder how many pastors, how many ministry leaders, how many church leaders have not given up yet because there have been some people or some person who said, don't quit, man. Don't quit, woman. You got this. We need you. You can do that. Oh, this is the great strategy of Jesus Christ. That it's not the strategy of us. You know, the nature of man is as soon as someone disappoints us, as soon as someone lets us down, we abandon ship. We jump ship. It's the nature of man because of self-preservation. We want to protect ourselves from getting hurt or protect ourselves from picking up the pieces. But as a result, we stop investing in someone. A good investor in people won't allow the first sign of letdown move them to sell. A good investor in people won't allow the first offense or the second offense or the third offense move them to give up. No, a good investor in people gives the person he or she is investing in the benefit of the doubt, and they extend grace to that person, and they do what they can to help that person get back up on their feet and try again. The nature of Christ is so contrary to human nature. The nature of Christ is willing to take on the risk of a loudmouth, bold, hasty, rash fisherman. Because he knew he would sink in that water. He knew he would fail on that day before he was crucified. He knew Peter would say things he shouldn't say. He knew Peter would have to stick his foot in his mouth over and over. But Jesus had enough sense, enough insight to say, we get beyond the crucifixion. We get beyond the resurrection. We get beyond the ascension. We get beyond the day of Pentecost. And Peter will stand in front of a nation and he will declare Jesus Christ risen, and he will lead the church through the world, and he will be the beginning of my great institution. That's what Jesus saw. And John 21 was Jesus saying, get up, dummy. Get up, doofus. Come on, goofball. Let's go. Enough whining. Enough soaking and sulking. Come on, Peter. Follow me. Come on. I still trust you. I still have confidence in you. Peter didn't have the confidence in himself, but Jesus did. And when we invest in people, we must invest with a determination to never quit on them, a refusal to let Satan sift them as wheat, a determination to keep praying, to keep providing opportunities for them, to keep loving, to keep caring, to keep enduring, to keep investing regardless of the hurt. Parents, your child may disappoint you. Your child may continue to disappoint you. Do not quit on your kid. Wives, I realize your husband may have failed you many times. You may have tried to help him, and that may be your fault. That may be his fault. That may be a combination of both of your approaches to it. But ladies, please don't quit on your husbands. Guys, don't quit on your wives. Men, don't quit on your brothers in Christ. Ladies, don't quit on your sisters in the Lord. Everybody, don't quit on the young people in your lives. Nobody should quit on that new believer. Don't quit on that coworker you're trying to reach for Christ. Don't quit on that friend that can't seem to get over his or her addictions. Don't give up on people. Jesus refused to give up on Peter, and I think we would be honest to say we probably wouldn't be here if Peter wasn't there, because Peter was the leader. Where did all the guys go again when he said he went fishing? Fishing. Where do you think the guys went once he decided to follow Christ? They followed Christ. You see, the early church followed Peter. The disciples followed Peter. Jesus knew he had to get Peter's attention, and Peter following him because he was so influential. He would be the key to the kingdom early in church history. I wonder how many people we have given up on that have resulted in many other great losses because we underestimated how much influence a young person had on other young people, or how much our marriage had on other marriages. For 3.5 years, Jesus Christ invested heavily into Peter the apostle. That worked out very well. We would be wise to follow the investment strategy of Jesus. But since then, who has Jesus been investing in? Aren't you glad? Amen. Who are you investing in? Don't say yourself. That doesn't count. Who are you investing in? Whose life are you determined to help? Whose soul are you determined to improve? Whose future are you determined to impact? Whose eternity are you determined to influence? Whose life are you investing in? These are the things you want to incorporate in the life of that person. Let's stand and have a word of prayer. Deacons, if you'd come forward.